Let's look at multi-columned layout, or sometimes what they'll call newspaper type layout. And what I like to do is take a couple of our paragraphs and make them into side-by-side columns, all right? And I have something here, a little further down the document here, where I've got two different paragraphs that have two different headings, of course. And what I like to do is put, the Lahaina one on the left side, Chicago on the right, and have them side by side and a few other things in there. This is pretty easy to do. Now, a lot of people, what they might do, instead of maybe using the columns, they'd use like the tables. And again, the tables are a great idea. We're going to be talking about that in the next video. But the idea here is that we can keep it very simple by just doing the multi-column layout versus putting a two-column table or something like that in. So here's how it works. We're going to select the paragraphs that we want to convert. So we're going to take this here. I mean, technically we've got 4 paragraphs because the headings are actually a paragraph. But regardless, we take that, and what the program is going to do is when it creates this side-by-side column situation, it's going to balance out the text. All right. So we go back into the Layout tab. We click on to Columns. Now we go with 2. And there we go, just like that. And because we've got the text laid out in such a way where it's justified, and we have the auto hyphenation turned on. If you don't remember about the auto hyphenation, basically if you go into the Layout tab, you've got hyphenation here, and normally it's set for none. And if we have it set for none, you kind of get a sense of what it does here. No hyphenation, so it takes the entire word that it can't fit on a line and puts it to the next line. Well, you end up getting a lot of extra, spacing in there. But if you go in here and you change the hyphenation to being automatic, now watch what happens to this as far as the spacing goes. Set that for automatic, and it's much better. All right, so between having the hyphenation and then also having your justification turned on for everything, we've selected the whole document and turn that on. Because of the 2, we get a nice block look there. Now, a few other little things we can add to this. If I go somewhere in the columned area here, go back into Layout, go back into Columns, but then go down into More Columns, what I can do here is add a border between the 2 columns. You can also go into here if you wanted to, take off the equal column width, and you can actually adjust what size you want the columns to be. Now, it wouldn't make any sense to make one column wider than the other, all right? But if you did need to do something like that, you have that capability. So we're just going to do it with the line between there. We'll hit OK, and there it goes. Now, if you're a real stickler for formatting, what you're going to notice is that bar, that line, that divider is going well below the actual last line of the paragraphs, and that's because we've got that extra 8 inches of space, after each paragraph. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove that spacing. Now, easy way to do that, we can go to this first paragraph here, all right? And we can go ahead and, since we're on Layout, you can actually just go right here and bring this thing down to 0. Go to this one here, this paragraph, bring it down to 0. All right, there we go. And then what we can do to make up for that space, we can actually go to the next paragraph, the full single column paragraph, and we can tell that we want to add 8 points of space. Also, and I don't think I can use 0. I can get up to 6 or 12, but I want 8. So I'm just going to go in there and make that 8. All right, enter that in, and that gives me my spacing that I need. If it doesn't seem like enough, we can always go back in there and bring it up to 12 and make it look a little bit better. Or even if you want to do a little bit more, we can maybe do 15. All right, whatever visually looks good to you, go for it. And that's pretty much how it works. Now, if later on you decide, you know what, I don't like this multi-column thing, I just want to go back to just regular paragraphs, single column, then all you have to do is just be somewhere in the columned area, go back to layout, go back to your columns and just say 1. And it goes right back to where it was. Then all you'd have to do is go back in there and add your spacing. And I'll tell you what we'll do here. We'll go back to the home tab here. And what we'll do is for this paragraph, we will add the space after the paragraph, right? And I think everything else is okay. So that's it. That's how you'd work that. Okay, so I've got one more for you, and this is actually very unique. This is something back in the old days of WordPerfect. That was many years ago. WordPerfect was like the premier word processing program out there, and then Word came along and just knocked them out of the park. But here's the thing. WordPerfect had a feature called parallel columns, all right? And it's a very unique layout, and I'm going to show you how we set this up. But it's something that Microsoft Word doesn't really name, but you can make it happen in Microsoft Word. It's just not like a button that you can click and say, okay, I want to do, parallel columns, just like we did our newspaper columns. So what I'm about to show you is probably something that most people that use this program have no idea on how to create, but it's a very useful layout, I think. Let me show you what it looks like here. I've got a little snapshot of it, and I just wanted to show it to you here. So this is it right here. So it's basically going to be something where you type in the first chunk of text, you tab, you get this, you type in your second chunk of text. It might be like their name, their title, let's say, and then you tab again, and that stops you over here, and that's as you start typing, it word wraps within this area. And it's doing that because of how we've got our little indent buttons set up here. So we've got the top indent up here that pretty much keeps this in position, right? We got this tab right here that will give us this positioning. And then we've got the middle and bottom part of the indent, the hanging indent part. And that is over here, see? And this is great. So I'm sure plenty of you, a lot of you out there probably have been in a situation where you maybe wanted to create something like this. And really the only other way that you can make this happen would be to set up a table, so where you'd have like 3 columns. You'd have like a column here and a column here, and then you have your row here, and then you'd put the first 3 pieces of information in. Then you go down to here, put the next person in, and this in here, and this as well. All right, we'll do something like that when we're doing tables, but in the upcoming video. But in this case, we're gonna use the the old WordPerfect parallel column layout. We're gonna make that happen here. All right, so let me just pull that off. So let's go ahead and let's set this thing up here. So I'm gonna go to the end of this paragraph here, hit the enter key, get some space in there, and then we're going to play around with our indent buttons here. So what we need to do here, so the middle one here, I'm going to move that over to where I want to have my paragraph at. That was like that 3rd column. And you can rearrange this. I mean, you just kind of get it in a position, just a general spot, and we can kind of tweak it later on. So we do that there. So basically, this is where the name will be, this is where the paragraph will be, and then, of course, the person's title, then we're going to put that, let's say we'll put maybe about 1.5, somewhere in this area here, so we'll just put a little left tab in there. That's it. So this designates the name, this designates the title, and this will designate the where the paragraph will be, right? And because that's an indent there, it stays on that side. It'll stay lined up on there. So here's what we'll do. So that's it. That's the setup. then all we have to do now is I'll type in, let's say, chip rows, just like that. Hit my tab key, goes over there. Now we'll put in there, let's say, top trainer, all right? And then we'll do another tab, and there we go. And here I'll just type in some gobbledygook. So you just kind of do something like that, and there we go. There's your first one. Now, you might, before we go any further, you might go ahead and take this tab right here and move that over maybe a little bit like that. Maybe take this one here, the top, or the middle marker here, and move that over a little bit like that. Or maybe move it back, whatever. Get it to be what you want. Now that you have it set that way, now when you hit that enter key, that that property, extends. So now I can go ahead and I can type in, let's say, Beth here, and then we'll hit the tab key, and this will be maybe banking training, something like that. Hit the tab there, and then blah, blah, blah. Oh, we got like a big word there, so it's like word wrapping that mess. There we go. Okay, so we do that and a little bit more there. Okay, that's perfect. Now, if we want to put maybe the third person in between the two, then all we have to do is just go right here, okay, hit the enter key, perfect. And then we'll go ahead and we'll type in, put Lori in here, just like that, tab it, and this is going to be credit finance, tab key again, and then, of course, the text. There we go. And again, if you need to kind of change this, then all we have to do is we take the whole thing into account, just like we did when we did tabs, like that. And then we can go ahead and we can move this, back to the left a little bit maybe. Take this one here, move it back this way, or move it the other way. Oop. I'm dragging the wrong thing here, right there on that little hat guy. Okay. And there we go. We can move that around just like that. So there it goes. And, of course, again, if you wanted to, you could maybe highlight that and, make it bold or something, kind of make it stand out. That might be a little too much here. I'll go back in there and we'll unbold it. We'll just maybe change the color up here a little bit. Do something like that there. All right. We could even put a border in there. So we could maybe go on this paragraph here, and we can tell it we want to put a bottom border on that, and then take this paragraph here and tell it we want to put a top border on that. And there we go. That looks good. Okay, so this is one of my shorter videos here. So I hope you enjoyed what we covered here. I'm sure you can maybe use this if you do a lot of word processing. A great way of making things stand out, either with the multi-column layout there. We've got our parallel columns over here. I mean, good stuff there. So appreciate you watching. Take care.